Nick Durant here at Tattoo University. This is a project that I'm working on right now, and this machine came to me in a little disrepair, and we are going to fix it up. It's not a bad machine frame here. It's not a bad machine once you see all the parts. It just needs a little work and a little tuning, and it just needs things set up correctly. You can see somebody made this out of a couple of wrenches and a bolt, and the angles and everything are good on this, and the height. We just need to make a couple adjustments to make this a little more user friendly. So I'm out here in the garage tweaking on it right now. One of the things that happened was the bolt was broken off inside of the frame, so I had to drill that out and tap another screw. There's the screw we're going to use, but I'm not going to leave it looking like this. I'm going to clean it up a little bit, and we're going to do some brazing, and I'm going to braze this washer like this. Because we still want it to have that hardware garage type look to it, you know. We don't want to put anything really fancy on here because that's not how this looks. This looks like parts that people have put together in their garage, and that's what I'm doing. I'm putting parts together in my garage to make this work. We have the screw right here that will put pressure on our tube, holding it in place, but we need to be able to tighten this down. So you never want to just have the screw head here. You want to have something big enough that you can grab with your fingers, something big enough that's comfortable to turn with your fingers here that won't hurt. And what we're going to do is use some brazing techniques to make this into one piece. Alrighty, so here's our washer with our screw brazed to it. And now it's easier to adjust this without hurting your fingers. And we tighten that down enough. Focus here, focus. Alright, tighten that down enough to where it holds our tube in place. There we go. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. One of the issues I was talking about in my other videos is your machine rusting and needing a proper coating to keep it from doing that. This bolt back here has a lot of rust that's coming off of it, so I'm going to spray this with a clear coat. I want it to still look rusty, but I don't want the rust to come off, so a little clear coat will protect this frame and keep it from rusting anymore. All I did was give the threads back here a little squirt of clear coat. I don't think the rest of it needs it. So now we start putting the parts back on it. I do the same thing every time, unless there's a special case that requires something different, which usually it's always the same thing every time. So if you watch the videos and you get the process down, you should be pretty good on tuning any coil machine. You might have a couple exceptions here and there, but if you know what you're doing, you'll be able to work around that. I've done so many machine tuning videos lately, I'm getting tired of them. So I just decided to do this one because it's a little different. You know, I thought you guys would think this is cool, and I wanted to be able to show the owner what I did exactly to the machine. So certain metals conduct electricity better. See, that's steel, that's stuck to the magnet, but these are aluminum. Aluminum will conduct electricity, but not as well as some other metals. I would have used brass or copper or silver on these. But will it work? Probably. And, you know, we're trying to keep a certain look on this machine, so we'll put these back on there. One of the issues I saw with the contact screw is there is nothing to turn it. It's just round. So what we need to do is either flatten this end or add something to this that will allow you to turn this easier. First, I got to see if this is the right length, because if we need a longer contact screw, I might need to change this out. We're very limited right here. We can't move our front post. It's in this spot. So we need a contact screw that is going to be the correct length. It's a plastic washer, but it doesn't go inside of there. See, it's missing that part. Switch that out with a different one. There we go. See how that has that little round donut that goes inside the metal to keep it from touching. There we go. Here was one of the issues when I first got this machine. There was this washer right under here, which made this hit the front core like this. And you really want your armature bar to be flat. And you can see whoever made this machine made it so that the spring sits right on top of this bolt. Because if you add any height to that, you hit at an angle. So really you have to leave this on this bolt. You can't make any adjustments because this makes your armature bar go straight across, and if you add any height to that, it throws it off. So we're going to go right onto the top of that bolt there to make sure that our armature bar goes straight across. I can see we have a little bit of a wide gap in the back, so I'm going to add a little small washer back there just to raise that up a little bit. I'm talking about this space right here. And I don't know, from the looks of it, I think our contact screw is long enough. So what I'll do is just put something on the end of this and make this work. Here's another adjustment that I want to make. This is what's being used as the washer on the rear spring. Now what you need here is a place for your clip cord to go into. So there's this hole back here and this hole right here, and you can see that's off. Well, it might work. Let's see. You know what I might do, so this really bugs me, and they do this on a lot of machines. It's just a pet peeve that I have. Instead of your clip cord going in straight, it goes in at a bit of an angle. And this isn't any different. This is over here, it's off. So your clip cord's not going to sit in here straight unless I can think of something to do this rear post to make that sit in there better. We'll see how much it bugs me. I might fix it or I might leave it alone. I just really like everything to line up and to work nicely and to be comfortable. And if it's not that way, because the clip cord won't go in there correctly. Without your clip cord sitting in here correctly, you don't get a good connection. Your machine will turn off and on. What I would advise on something like this is either finding a way to make your clip cord sit in here nice and snug, or switching to a RCA adapter, something that will give you a really good connection there. I think somebody probably built this machine who knew what they were doing, but then somebody else probably tried to tune it and didn't know what they were doing and kind of just put things back together in the wrong place. You know, I've only had one spring break. I've seen one broken spring in a really long time. No, actually, I take that back. I've seen two. So don't be afraid to adjust your springs and bend your springs. They're springs. They're supposed to be bent. You need to adjust your springs in this manner to get your machine to run correctly. You know, it's also very easy for some of these trolls out there to go online and to look up information. So what they do is they go online and they try to find information to discredit what I'm doing. And they can try and do that all they want because I am showing you everything that I'm doing. I'm putting everything on video and you can see everything for yourself. The proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the results. So try it out. If you don't like what I'm doing, then that really doesn't matter to me. All I'm saying is try out what I am showing you and telling you. Give it a try. See if it works for you. I'm pretty sure 99.9% of the time, if you do it correctly, this will work for you. Reading some comments lately, some people who don't agree with how I do my springs and adjust my machines and everything. And if you get one of my machines or you watch me tattoo with one of my machines, you will see that they work just fine. And one of the issues they had was me telling them was when I say to put your spring to the side and bend it. And what that does is it puts a little more tension upwards if you bend it this direction. If you bend it this direction, it takes off that upwards tension. And you need to do that to adjust your duty cycle. That's part of the process. And I just think some of you are so anal about your springs because you don't know how to change them out. You're so worried that they're going to break, and they're just springs. If something happens, you just switch out a new spring. Some of you might not know how to adjust those springs and adjust your machines and switch them out. So you're so afraid just to bend the spring a little bit. It's a spring, it's supposed to bend. And that is part of the tuning process. And somebody has issue with that. Somebody's always going to have an issue with something I say. There's springs. You can always change them out. See, bending my springs up. Don't have a count. Got plenty of springs where those came from. Without that upward tension right there, if you don't bend your springs up, it's not going to touch your contact screw up here. You're not going to be able to get your angles correct. You're not going to be able to get your duty correct. That's part of the process. That's something you need to do and learn how to do to adjust your machine. Here is the issue you're going to run into when you're adding some new springs. I've decided to put some new springs on here. These springs will just look better on this machine and they fit better. And I realized the last spring I was trying to put on there, the rear spring was really thick. So it had too much tension for a color packer. It's really thick. So what you're going to run into when you put your springs back on is this. Your contact screw is not touching the front spring. Your front spring isn't up far enough. There's no upward tension. So what you have to do is bend your front spring. You have to take your spring out to the side and give it some upward tension. Now, it's your choice whether or not you want to use an O-ring. But if you do choose to use an O-ring, let me show you what happens here. The O-ring you can slip over your armature bar. I feel like I'm giving you a lesson in how to put a condom on. Okay, and then we're going to slip it over the rear, and we're going to slip it back over the end of the armature bar, like so. Make sure that's in there nice and snug. And what that will do is put more upward tension on this front spring. So when you push up this way, when you put an O-ring on, which pushes that up that direction, and you put it back into place, now you can see we are making contact with our contact screw. And if we adjust this, we want it to touch and still go up a little bit. Now we have our stroke length for a color packer. It's touching our contact screw. And we have enough upward tension to get the job done. That's necessary. That is part of the machine tuning process. Now we just need to plug everything in, tighten everything down, plug everything in, and see how everything is running.